Otaku. Observer. Otaku. Observer.
Ohio and arigato. Thank you for coming in and joining me on the beginning of season 2 of the Otaku Observer podcast. My name is Wilton Houston. Thank you guys for joining. So, this is going to be a loaded season. I got a loaded season for you guys. There've been a lot of anime I've been able to catch up on, a lot of anime I've watched through this little bit of time that I've had in our quarantine days. Even though I've been able to work, thankfully, I haven't had as much free time as some people when they have to go, when they're able to be home and like that. But I've been able to catch up on a lot of shows with the downtime of my normal real life type shows I have been able to watch because they've all been quarantined. So, let me just get into, of course, my trailer. So as you guys may realize, I'm trying to start a new format this year, so I hope you guys dig that. But also, if you notice in the trailer, there was basically 4 shows that I highlighted that I'm going to talk about this season. Um, one of them was a show that I had seen a lot of clips and pictures and stuff on Twitter, and I've been seeing it in my news feed, and I've heard a couple people mention, how good it is and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and check this show out just to see how good it is because I had a feeling it was gonna be. I had a feeling it was gonna be good. I had a feeling I was gonna like it, but I didn't know it was gonna be. I was gonna fall in love with it. Like Haikyuu is Haikyuu is next level. It really is next level. When I watched that show, the vibes I got from it was I got Prince of Tennis with kind of not necessarily Naruto, probably more Black Clover. Um I got those kind of feelings of the anime from Haikyuu. I say Prince of Tennis because of the fact that one of the main reasons why I love Prince of Tennis, as far as out of all the sports shows, it's literally my favorite. Um, is because of the fact that in Prince of Tennis, not only do you get to learn the main characters and learn the main characters' teammates, because it's tennis, it's a team sport. So not only do you get to learn the teammates and things like that, and you get to see those characters develop throughout the team, but you also come across all the rival schools that they go up against, and you kind of get and with most of them you get their stories as well. So it's not just a development of the main characters in a sense, or in a sense the main school slash team, but you also see a development of their rivals and how they get better and what they do and how they change throughout the seasons of the show. And you get that from Haikyuu. Not only do you see, I'm saying, of course, the main 2 characters who are the main focus of the story, not only do you see how they grow and come together, but you also get to see how their rival schools grow and how they're getting better and what the connections are between those characters. It is so well done, and the animation, oh my gosh, I love it. I love the animation. It is, especially when they do the net plays, how they focus on like the internet plays, and they slow that time down, and you see the little micro reactions that they have to make at the net. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So I was, of course, I was I was pleasantly mad. I'll say that I was pleasantly mad with how good that that anime is. And so of course when I dove into it, I ended up going through like all the episodes on Crunchyroll literally like that. Like in I want to say in like 2 weeks I literally killed that show. So I'm basically waiting on the next season to start up. I think I've seen 2 episodes, I think, come out since then. I haven't watched them yet. I think I've seen 2 new episodes from the new season supposedly came out, but there hasn't been anything else since then, at least not on Crunchyroll. So I'm basically waiting to see if they're gonna make more or release more. But I look forward to I look forward to that. I look forward to more episodes from them. Because if I have to read the manga for that, and as I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry if I have to read the manga for that one. Um, but I will definitely review that at a later date. So one of the other shows that I of course did in the trailer was a show on Netflix called Keegan Ashura. King and Ashura. So King and Ashura is Baki esque. Is Baki esque. And I say that because it's basically about actually scratch that. It's to describe it better, it's actually a combination of Baki with what is the name of that anime I literally just watched? um there's an anime that I watched really not too long ago. That was about people who basically gene splice, like they gene splice people, basically giving them like animal traits and they fight. So you have like, for instance, a kind of humanistic tiger versus like a bear, a were not were but like a bear cat, something like that, or a mongoose, something like that. So but it's basically like that show combined with Baki, because basically in King and Ashura is basically the setup of the multi-billion dollar companies when they have basically trade beefs or business battles in a sense and disputes, how they settle it by basically having their prize fighter go up against the other company's prize fighter, and whoever wins basically gets the money or the building or whatever they're battling over, whatever argument they're disputing over, that's what they fight for. So you basically have like literally $1 million matches happening underground, in the most illegal operations, whatever like that. And the main character is, even though it's technically about the fighter, it's, in my opinion, it's more so about the random businessman guy, the old businessman guy who happens to come across the fighter in the alleyway. Um, it's basically about him and the actual main fighter. But what's interesting about this show, though, is the fact that in my opinion, of course, you have the frontline story, which is about the main fighter trying to win this tournament, and of course, because basically the thing is this. The main fighter is hired by the company of the guy that watched the fight, his company. And so the boss, the CEO, whatever, tells the guy that saw him in the alleyway, hey, you're gonna take care of this guy, basically whatever he needs, you make sure he gets it. And so he has him basically go through like two other fights for a test to see how good he is. He wins both fights, but after he wins, he's like, well, I don't think he's good enough to go in this tournament with them. He's good, but he's not that good. I'm gonna go with somebody else. So, kind of out of spite, he's like, well, you don't think I'm good enough, and then fine, I'll in the tournament and beat your fight or whatever. So even though he's in a tournament with this guy that he's been partnered with, at the same time, the thing is, what I'm saying, he's trying to basically prove to himself that his fighting style is the best. But it's funny because you find out that basically the crux of his problem is the fact that he doesn't even believe in his own fighting style because he watched his master lose and die. And so he's all like, well, if you lose, you're weak. You know what I'm saying? So in his mind, it's like, what's the point of me using your fighting style if you lose? You know what I'm saying? That means just to find something that can beat you, even though he doesn't understand the concept of the fact that every fighting style can lose, but whatever. That's neither here or there. That's neither here or there. But anyway, the point is though, is that the crux of the situation is the fact that he's a fighter that is struggling to actually believe in the techniques that his master taught him. And even though they have their pluses, they also have their weaknesses. He has to understand that if you use them for their actual pluses, you can be a really, really strong fighter. And so that's basically what the gist of the show is about. But it's really good. I definitely suggest everybody check it out. And again, I will do a more in depth review of it later. Um, the third show, I believe, was, what was the third show? Oh yeah, okay. So after I went on my Haikyuu binge and came out feeling literally empty, like literally I was like, great, now what am I gonna watch? Like I went through this like butter, like I have nothing to watch now. So I had also been seeing in my news feed, as far, not news feed on Twitter, but in my feed for like, suggestions of shows to watch, things like that, was this basketball show called I Hero no Sora. And I hadn't watched a basketball anime literally since like the show Dear Boys. I don't even know if y'all remember that or if anybody old enough to remember that show. But Dear Boys was a good show. It's actually pretty good. I don't remember it. I literally don't remember it. It was literally years ago. Like I think I was still in college when I saw that show. But I want to say it basically was about it was kind of about what I hear no stories about. You had this group of I want to say high schoolers. I think their coach was a female. I can't remember if they had a female coach or a male coach, but I remember they had this coach that they were trying to basically win for, and I want to say they got close to winning championship. I don't think they won, but the point is though is the fact that it was a really kind of like shonen type of basketball show. Like you had the main characters who are on this big this basketball team is kind of underdog basketball team, and they were basically not really like they were good, but they weren't destined to go to like the nationals and like that, and they basically did their best to get there. So but it was a good show. Dear Boys, I really like it. It didn't really stand out to me. Maybe one day I'll go back and watch it to review it again. But aside from that, so going back to I Hear No Sora. So I Hear No Sora. So I'm seeing this on my feed and I'm like, okay, basketball anime. I don't know because I'm really picky with my sports shows because even though most sports anime tends to be like super extreme, and most time they tend to be good. It's like I feel like when it comes to sports anime, if you don't really have, I feel like what it needs is aside from needing a good plot, like a good story, you really need to be able to touch on the characters because in sports anime the characters makes the actual like. I mean that's like 90% of all anime, but it's more pass or fail for me in sports anime because of the fact that unless you have an actual affection for the sport, then what I'm saying it's not really anything there to build upon. So it's like you have to have kind of a ultimate connection with the actual characters because you gotta have to basically it's kind of like watching what sports you watch now. Like if you don't have if for instance if you're not a fan of let's say LeBron, or a fan of Kobe, whatever, something like that, then you don't really care about basketball. You know what I'm saying? Or when you do watch them, you don't really have anybody to cheer for. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that input to it. But anyway, so I Hear No Sword is basically about you have this one kid who I believe he's a freshman. He's a freshman who just got to high school, and he is of course like short. He's short. He's like I think 5 feet something like that. But the point is he's short and he's wants to be a basketball player, and he's never been able to start in a game because he's been short his whole life, even though his mom is like famous because like I want to say his mom was like she actually made the national team, something like that, whatever, like the national representative teams on for Japan. And so so he wants to play, and he finally gets to school. He's like, okay, I'm finally gonna be at this school. I'm gonna join the basketball team, and I'll be able to start. I'll impress them, and I'll be able to start. Unfortunately, the school he goes to, is where the basketball team is a bunch of delinquents. So he ends up trying to play. Ends up trying to practice, and of course, the delinquents like, hey, what are you doing in the court? And they basically bully him off the court. And so he challenges them the next day. He's like, hey, I'll challenge you to a match, blah blah. If I win, then let me play in the court, whatever. So he challenged them, and and basically he's a Steph Curry. Like if you know basketball, he's a Steph Curry. He's a long range specialist shooter. He can shoot threes. So they're all trying to check him, like thinking he gonna try and drive to the basket. He's like, no, I'm gonna shoot from here, and he shot the three, makes it. He's like, oh okay, he can shoot three. Okay, cool. Well, we can't do it again, and he does it again and again and again and again. So but yeah, so he ends up beating the delinquents basically like I think 3 out of 5 times, whatever, something like that, because they end up trying to run it back, whatever, play him again. But it's funny because you notice that the main guy that's like the head kind of bully, he has some defensive skills because he actually can read him. He can actually read his movements and stuff. So basically, to wrap it up a little bit, the main head bully, whatever, ends up, agreeing to the freshman kid, main character, to building a basketball team. And so, but they end up building one mostly because of the fact that they got into basically a fight with a rival school, and they basically got challenged by their basketball team for punishment. So they all come together trying, for this basketball match. And of course they lose. because you basically have two people. You have three people who never played basketball before. They don't have a head coach. So you got three people who never played basketball before on the team. You got the one guy who played for like I think a year or two in middle school and he quit with his brother who was the same who was also the same. He's really good, but he's basically the genius point guard, but he quit because in middle school him and his brother were playing and they got basically whooped, they got beaten and the whole team quit. So so that's basically what the show is about. It's literally about a team for the most part of people who have never gotten a chance and are basically all starting from point zero, like as point zero as you can make it, because you got the main character who's highly talented, but he's never been a starter because he's short. You got two guys who were really good in middle school, but they quit because of the fact that they were on a team that quit when they were losing like 70 to 20, something like that. And then you got the three guys who were basically hanging out with the main one of the brothers, whatever, who never played basketball in their life. And so it's literally about a team starting from scratch. And they're trying to compete and go to nationals against teams, of course, against teams that have players that have been playing since like elementary school. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you make up? It's like not only is it really about building the team up, building up your trust, getting actual good play, things like that. But it's also the fact of, um, it's also about how in the world am I going to be able to, make up for all the lost time when you have all these guys that are still playing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really good show. Um, and then the last one was Rent a Girlfriend. So Rent a Girlfriend. I have so many mixed emotions about that show. Um, so if you listen to Chibi J, she mentioned Rent a Girlfriend because that's one of the shows that she watched. And Rent a Girlfriend is basically a show about a guy who basically got dumped by his current by his yes, he got dumped by his girlfriend after dating her for about a month. And she dumped him because of the fact that she's basically a petty. She's basically a queen bee slash um I'll just say snob. She's basically a queen bee slash snob. So, well, really man eater because basically she only goes out with guys if she can get something from them. And basically she dated him out of kind of like just because of the fact that he eyed her so much, like because of the fact that he wanted her so much. That's the only reason why she dated him. But she didn't really find him attractive or anything. She didn't care about him. So she ends up dumping him. And after he gets dumped, he sees this little ad thing online, and it's like, because he's doing what guys do, watch porn and jacking off. But he basically sees his ad thing about renting a girlfriend. He's like, bump it, I'll try it out. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to say his first initial thought was, I'll just, I'll do this thing, whatever, and then I'll go ahead and, basically give her a bad review and stuff like that because he want to take revenge out on his girlfriend. So he does it. She's of course perfect. He can't, and of course he can't figure out what to do because he originally planned on trashing her, but she's so perfect that he's like, crap, I can't do anything about it because she's so perfect. And so he tried. So after trying to fight her a little bit, she ends up breaking down, and she's like, hey, blah blah blah. She basically fusses him out for trying to trash her and ruining the date and stuff like that. She's like, basically saying, hey, I'm being professional here. I'm trying to do my best to be here for you, yada yada. And so, um, he ends up basically, of course, end up giving in, and is like, all right, fine, I'll respect you. You know what I'm saying? You did great. So, but basically, the premise of the show is basically, because it's more so about how he developed. Because really, the thing is, you see from the beginning, no, he has no real like belief in himself. Like he has no confidence in himself. He doesn't really know how to talk to girls. He doesn't really know how to interact with girls, things like that. So you know from the beginning, okay, either he's gonna develop into basically someone who ends up gaining kind of like all the girls' attention, or he's just gonna be like the tension wheel of the group where he just happens to have girls that like him for no reason. But but basically he does end up developing into someone that ends up having some character development with his interaction with girls and things like that. But the way it ends and even the middle bothered me a lot of things. And so, like I said, so I'm gonna review that show, of course, later down the road. But again, that's a really good show to check out. So you might be thinking by this point, well, what show are we going to talk about today? Well, let's get into that. So the show I'm going to talk about today is a show that I've actually been wanting to watch since I was like in middle school slash high school. Um, but the name of the show is Evangelion. So let's get into that.
私だけをただ見つめて微笑んでるあなたそっと触れるもの求めることに夢中で運命さえまだ知らない痛いけな瞳だけどいつか気づくでしょうその背中には遥か未来目指すための羽があることさあこの私の手で窓辺からやがて飛び立つほとばしる熱きパクスで思い出を裏切るならこの空を抱いて輝く少年よしわになれ
Okay, so what I'm talking about now is Evangelion. So Evangelion is this is a show I've actually been looking forward to watching because I've actually been interested in it ever since like middle school slash high school. But when I finally got down, sat down and watched the show, I came away with a lot of mixed emotions because I love the plot. I love the story behind the actual show itself. But I couldn't stand the fracking characters that were involved. Like they pissed me off to high waters. Um the show starts off basically with a teenage boy. I can't remember the main character's name. I only remember a certain number of characters' names. But the main character, he basically is summoned literally by his father. I think via letter that basically just says, "Come meet me." Like come meet me, whatever at what's called place. So he goes to this city to go meet him, and the day he arrives is actually under attack by by a monster called what they call angels. And so his eventual caretaker picks him up from the train station, whatever, ends up taking him to the place. He gets to see his father for the first time in like years, and the only thing he says to him is, "I need you to get in this machine, this robot machine, and go fight these monsters and go save the city." And he's like, "Wait, what? Like you want me to go fight? Like no, like why are you like is that the only reason why you called me here? Like why?" And he's like, "If you don't," like basically his father says, "If you don't want to do it, tough luck. Go ahead, go. I don't need you. I'll put the girl in there. You know what I'm saying, and do your job then." And so he's like, and of course he sees this girl that is like literally covered in bandages, Ray. She's like literally covered in head to toe in bandages, has like 5 different broken bones, stuff like that. Like she's in no condition to do anything, let alone being a robot to fight a monster. And he's like, nah, I can't put her through that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'll fight. So so he ends up fighting, ends up basically I think he ends up passing out. And then ends up taking and then like the machine takes over, ends up killing the monster, whatever, like that. But in any case, the show is basically about these monsters that they call angels that I want to say they came from space. They come from space, whatever, and like no one knows why they come. No one knows what they're after or anything. They just come, they attack, and the only way to defend against them is with these monsters, with these like giant robot monsters that the government basically developed to fight them. And so the agency that's in charge of fighting against these monsters is the main character's dad. So he ends up being and another thing that bothers me about this show is how everyone has their own ulterior motives involved in the show. Like everyone is like they're only in it for themselves in a sense, and they all have their own personal agendas as far as what they're after and none of it has anything to do with the actual people that matter in the show. Like um like it bothers me how, like, for instance, going with the pilots, because the main character isn't the only pilot. There's two other people that end up, well, technically there's four, but I'll get to that later. But there's two of the main people that are involved as far as that are pilots. The other pilot I mentioned before is Ray. Ray has been there for at least a few months, if not longer, before the other pilot came, and she's the woman that's been doing all the field tests and been getting basically wrecked, like been getting beat the frack up in battle because she has no, because she didn't get any training or anything. She didn't get no training, she nothing. She just basically got suited up. Oh, you're compatible. You can sing with this robot. Get out there and start fighting them. You know what I'm saying? So she's been getting wrecked from day one since they first arrived, and well, ever since the program started up for them to fight against them. And so, and then you have the main character who he has a natural affinity talent to having a high synchronization rate with the actual robots that they use, the robot weapons they use to fight these angels with. And so that's what makes him in a sense, quote unquote, special. But as far as talent, like, he has no talent for it. He has none. And on top of that, he's your, I hate to say it this way, but he's your classic average teenager. You know what I'm saying? He's not someone who wants to get into a fight. Like, he doesn't go looking for a fight. He doesn't want to get in a fight. He's, you know what I'm saying, a peaceful, kind-hearted kid. He just wants to live a normal life. So, and then you have the third pilot, Asuka, who gets on my nerves the most out of everybody in that show, and in my opinion, got what she deserved. But anyway, she's the one that basically is beginning that basically received all the training and got all the knowledge and everything. Like, basically was spoon fed everything that was necessary to know as far as how to be a pilot and everything like that, because of the fact that they saw how badly Ray got messed up, and they kind of had to jump him in because of the fact that he had the highest synchronization rate. So basically, all the mistakes they made, they taught her so that she wouldn't have to repeat them. So, and of course, she's cocky because she's all like, "Well, I was chosen to be a pilot. I'm the only one that's been chosen to be a pilot." Yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one with the collective talent. Blah blah blah. And it's like, you have all this arrogance about you, but the only reason why you have all this training and all this knowledge that you speak of is because of the fact that the two guys who basically were in the field the whole time were basically getting you the data for you to not make the same mistakes. So that's the only reason why you actually have all the training that you have anyway right now. But in any case, what makes it so even more upsetting is the fact that, for instance, there's a main scene, there's a main scene when Oscar and uh the main character have to do this teamwork, basically against, like, they have to team up against a certain angel, because of the fact that it's the angel kind of, I think, has like a split. It's like split in two, so it's kind of like a twin. So they have to basically work together to basically kill the alien at the same time, like kill both shadow, like kill both sides of the angel at the same time. So they're basically training by basically working together, playing this little twister slash dance party pattern thing where they got to match patterns or whatever on a board, and they keep failing because of the fact that, you know what I'm saying, she refuses to match the main character. Like, basically she wants the main character to match her rather than she try and match him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, she refused to work with him to make the whole thing easier. And so, um, and so a couple of their friends from school comes over, and they're all like, hey, well, how's it going, whatever, how's the whole train thing going? And, you know what I'm saying, she basically cusses out the main character, for being beneath her and all this stuff like that. And the caretaker, the woman that's their caretaker, is all like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying, well, if you don't think you can do it, Ray, how about you hop in there? And Ray, the first woman, the first child, she hops in there and literally in the first try matches him perfectly on the first try, just matches him perfectly. And so, you know what I'm saying, they're all like, wow, she's really good. They're really good together, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and it of course, it fractures her ego because of the fact that she couldn't believe that somebody else could actually, out partner her. You know what I'm saying? Like what the heck? So, but anyway, but what And then what gets to me though is the fact that as much as she talks down to this dude, like as much as she talks down to Shinji, that's his name. The main character's name is Shinji. As much as she talks down to Shinji and trashes him and basically thinks so little of him, for some reason he likes her. But he likes her only in a sense because of the fact that she has these moments where she's basically, in a sense, not necessarily fragile, but she has these moments where her guard is somewhat let down, and she basically reveals that she's in a sense human, but she's still cocky as crap. Like, just because she has moments where she lets her guard doesn't mean that's who she is. That's not her real character. Her real character is who she is when she's trashing you the whole time. And so she but anyway, so getting back to my point though, is the fact that everyone has their own ulterior motives. So like for instance with Asuka, she only wants to show out and prove that who she is because of the fact that there's this guy who basically is a spy and has feelings for Shinji's caretaker. She has feelings for him, and she wants to basically prove to him that she's actually worthy to be, basically quote unquote considered an adult to basically be able to date him. And I'm all like, one, you're a kid. I understand kids don't. I understand, with a lot of anime, the presumption is, teenage girls think ahead of themselves, whatever like that. But still, it's, dude, you're a kid. What the heck? Um, but basically, she's only trying to get attention of this dude, even though she understands and knows the fact of the matter is he doesn't have eyes for her. He has eyes for Shinji's caretaker. Even though Shinji's caretaker doesn't want to admit that she has feelings for him because of the fact that them two actually used to date way back in the day when they were in college, and she basically got attached to him because of the fact that when she was younger, during the first wave of the angel attacks, or during the first explosion, whatever, I forget what they call it, the first explosion, whatever, the first mistake, whatever. The point is, there's this huge explosion, and her father got killed in an explosion, and so ever since then, she's been basically pining for revenge against the angels, and so she basically joined the whole crew, as far as the company, whatever that Shinji's dad runs, to try and get revenge on those angels. And back when she was in college working with this guy, she caught feelings for him because of the fact that in a way he reminded her of her father. And she felt it was weird that that even though she didn't like her father because of the fact that her father was always away from her and not home, she didn't like the fact that, I'm saying, he was never home, but yet for some reason in the final moments he showed so much compassion for her. And so she's like, do I really want my father this whole time? Yeah, you do. Clearly. What the heck? Um, but any case, she's supposed to be caring for. She's like, bottom line is, her whole responsibility is to be caring for Shinji. Shinji is already in a situation that is effed up because the fact of the matter is, his mom got pieced. I forget how, but his mom got pieced a long time ago, and ever since his mom got pieced, his father basically, in a sense, shut him out. Like his father basically stopped showing emotions or whatever. And so, granted, I feel like that's more of an adult kid misunderstanding between them two when it comes to how the whole thing happened with his mom dying. But the fact of the matter is, though, is the fact that when um, that situation happened, his you know what I'm saying, he hasn't seen his father since then. And so the first time he sees his father, it's basically to throw him into harm's way to the point where he could basically be killed. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he still doesn't care about him. And he only came there because he's thinking, well, maybe my father's finally gonna accept me and yada yada yada. No. I'm just another tool to be used by my father for his own personal schemes, whatever, in a situation of getting whatever he's after from, all the things going on in the background. And so, and Cindy's caretaker is not taking care of him in the least bit because she's so busy dealing with her own problems that she's not even thinking about what's going on with Shinji. And the high point moment for me, because of all this personal agenda crap, was when the fourth child got selected. So when the fourth child got selected, who happened to be basically because there was this kid basically when Shinji first got to the school, there was this kid there that got mad because I think his sister got hurt in the accident of the first attack when Shinji was there. And so he was going around spouting about, how he was mad at the angel, which was Shinji, that got his sister hurt. And Shinji basically made a comment that was um not necessarily arrogant or anything like that. Basically, he made a comment that basically made him sound as if like, because basically, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically something like, what I'm saying, like why would you, like why would like I didn't want like I didn't want to be the one to do this, I didn't want to do this anyway, because basically he's basically saying how I didn't ask to do this job anyway, like I'm just doing this, and so what I'm saying, so he basically got pissed off and punched him, and she just like, whatever. So and so but ever since then though, what I'm saying, he basically felt bad about punching him because of the fact that he didn't understand the fact that he's still the only person that's really being positioned to defend this whole city and let alone the whole world. And so after that situation, he ends up apologizing, but he ends up apologizing for it, and they end up becoming friends. And so his his friend ends up becoming the fourth pilot. But when he's chosen, in a sense, everybody knows this except for Shinji. No one tells Shinji that he is the fourth pilot, because and it's sad because it's like when you go through the situation, of course Shinji's father knows because he selected him. As far as I know, he selected him, but he ain't gonna tell Shinji anything. He didn't even want to talk to him for the past 5 to 10 years, whatever. Um, so Shinji knows. Shinji's father knows. His caretaker knows because she's in charge of basically of all the angel pilots. Even though Shinji's direct caretaker, she's still in charge of all the pilots that go out there into battle. So she's basically, of course, knew that dude was chosen as well. And then Asuka found out only because of the fact that I want to say when she had went on a date, whatever, something like that, like her own kind of quote unquote date with the guy that she likes, she happened to come across the paperwork that he had that basically mentioned that guy being selected as the next child, whatever. And so she basically found out through snooping or whatever. So she knows. And then of course there Shinji's indirect friend with the other pilot, with the new pilot, the fourth child, their mutual friend, whatever, he knows because of the fact that he sees, what, because like he kind of secretly wants to be a pilot, but he knows he's not talented enough, whatever, or can't be chosen. And so when the way he sees, Shinji, of course, leave to go to work, quote unquote, he sees their mutual friend, whatever, leave and go as well. So he's like, okay, he got chosen, and what I'm saying. So why can't I be chosen? Like Shinji's a pilot, he got chosen. Why can't I be pilot? So he's in there asking. So there's a part where he's asking them all these questions as far as stuff regarding the fourth child and the incidents around the facility where the fourth child's mech whatever is kept. And she just like, I don't know anything about this. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, you don't know. And so he's thinking, well, maybe they ain't tell him because of the fact that it's classified information. He doesn't even know that, whatever. No, they didn't tell him because they didn't tell him. Like, no one cares about the fact that they just chose Shinji's best friend, who already doesn't have anybody else in his life because he doesn't have a connection with his father. He doesn't have a connection with Asuka, who, even though he wants one for no apparent reason. And then on top of that, he doesn't have a relationship with anybody else. Like, so it gets to the point where an angel comes, hacks the mech of the fourth child, Shinji's best friend, hacks the mech, and then basically Shinji's father orders Shinji and the crew and the rest of the pilots to basically destroy the new mech, like the fourth child's mech. And Shinji's like, wait, isn't there wait, isn't the fourth child in there? Like, isn't that still a child, one of us? Like who is it? And Asuka's like, oh, you still don't know? It's putting in her comm gets cut because she gets attacked by the angel, whatever. And so basically he doesn't find out who it is until literally after he destroys the mech and sees the body, what I'm saying, being shoveled out. And he's like, oh shoot, I just killed my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's and all of this could have been prevented had everyone actually been doing their fracking jobs rather than focusing on ulterior motives. And that's the reason why I could not stand this show. And it was so hard for me to finish it. But the only reason why I finished it was because I was like, I started the show, I need to finish it. I want to say this ends, and then the ending was even worse. Like the ending made it even worse. So I won't spoil that for you because if you are watching it, you need to see the ending. But I'll just say this: the ending made no sense to me at all, and I don't mean like in the sense that I don't understand why they did, whatever they did for the ending. I mean, it didn't make sense because of the fact that you have this issue going on, this issue going on, this is what's happening right now currently, and then at the crux of every moment of all these moments, it's like, okay, now that comes the ending, and they kind of just made it you know, um, a psychological bender of basically playing out scenarios of what ifs had Shinji chose different roles and different things in life, and then basically summarize that with his conviction of why he does what he does, but they never actually solved the issue of what was going on in the beginning well, basically they never solved the issue of what was going on during the end of the actual show. So it's like it ends without ending, but it ends with a kind of purpose of his convictions behind why he does what he does and who he is, and he kind of understands now why he does what he does. But it's like we don't need all this. Like we knew this stuff because of the fact that we've been watching the show for the past 20 some episodes. Like we knew this already. Why is it the fact that he has to just now discover this, and why is that to be the ending of the actual season? Like it was oh my gosh, it was shamelessly like I won't say it was a waste, but it was a letdown. It was a huge letdown for me. Evangelion was a huge letdown for me. Especially for a show that I've been looking forward to seeing for so long. So, but yeah, so that's my review of Evangelion. The next time that I get a chance to do a podcast, I will hit on another show that I've been able to watch, and I think I will do. Matter of fact, yeah, I might do that one. I won't let you know. I won't tell you what it is, but I'll give you a clue. Until next time, guys. Arigato for signing in. Arigato, guys, and adios.